I'm so glad that you guys took your time coming back to the channel, because while you were gone, we created the world's tiniest violin in Fortnite for you to cry about it. Okay, maybe we didn't do that, and maybe that hasn't been done before, but that doesn't mean that you can't do that. But more importantly, we're back with yet another episode of Bad Egg Jokes. Get it? Because it's not Easter. It's January, people. Dads sweeping the nation have come to a consensus that that joke was hilarious, but not a single non-dad seems to understand what exactly is going on here. Welcome back to Top 5 Gaming, everyone, where today we're jumping into the top 5 most secret Fortnite Easter eggs that you missed while you were gone watching that interactive version of Black Mirror. Yeah, don't think we don't know why you called in for work or didn't go to school. It was either that or lost, but now it's time to get educated in Fortnite, so let's do this. Number 5 is the My Name is Jeff Easter egg. With most subtly hidden Easter eggs in Fortnite, they can be found either on the map or throughout the mass selection of skins we now have. But on this occasion, it's hidden on one of the gliders. Usually gliders and harvesting tools are just an accessory to the skin with matching style. However, this paper plane glider has a couple Easter eggs all on its own. For one, the actual shape and fold of the plane is recreated after what is supposed to be one of the most efficient styles for paper airplanes. Apparently, this is the best folding technique found so far for getting maximum airtime, which is perfect for when you're flying down from the battle bus and you've got a long ways to go. The second Easter egg on this paper airplane, though, is one of the doodles you can find sketched on the underneath of the left wing. The plane itself looks like a bit of a folded up writing paper with a whole bunch of random drawings on it, so it's fairly understandable how no one would notice this at first. But in a small speech bubble, you can see the writing, "My name is Jeff," from the classic meme most of you probably know about.
My name is Jeff.
It comes from the 20-second Jump Street film that came out quite a while back, and even though most memes die fast, Fortnite have now immortalized it in their own universe. Now, it first showed up on the 5th and was in the item shop for a couple of days. But if now knowing these hidden references has tempted you into getting it, then remember, it is a brand new item to Fortnite in general, so we should have a good chance of seeing it again. And in number 4, we've got Clockwork's back bling that tells actual time. When the Oktoberfest set was dropped on September 30th, I can't imagine it was the highest selling skin set in Fortnite. After all, the game does bring in a largely younger audience, and I don't know about you, but at that age, I would be more interested in the superhero and cool looking skins rather than the people serving gallons of beer I wasn't allowed to drink, especially with Halloween on its way. Gotta save those V-Bucks for the Skull Trooper that came out, and in all honesty, you do see a few Heidies every now and then, but rarely ever the male counterpart Ludwick. That's why this little Easter egg has gone especially unnoticed. Part of Ludwick's getup is the Clockwork's back bling. It's a recreation of a carefully handcrafted German cuckoo clock, a perfect match for Ludwick. The best part about this is that the clock tells you the actual time, and as the hands go around to each hour, there's even a little cuckoo bird that pops out the little doors on top. Except this is Fortnite, so obviously the bird has been changed to a mini llama. It's a really nice idea for a back bling, but not everyone can afford to grab a skin just for its back accessory. Even if you can afford it, then you'll probably get put off eventually anyway. The fact is, the clock is big and bulky on your back, taking up a lot of space. I mean, I love the idea personally, but perhaps it might be more popular if it were on something a little bit less distracting. Number 3 is the IT Easter egg. Okay, so for a lot of Easter eggs, time isn't an issue. They can chill for years, sometimes before being discovered by a determined or really lucky player. On the other hand, a lot of games have events that can add a whole ton of stuff to the game for a short time. Whether it's a seasonal Christmas event or public competitions, we can have new stuff 1 minute and gone the next. Now, sure, it's going to take a lot of effort, but even so, a lot of developers still sneak in a temporary Easter egg, something you can find in the game until the event is over. There's probably a lot of Easter eggs out there that were included in this way and were never actually discovered. In fact, given that the one we're about to show you is so subtle, I'm surprised anyone found it at all. When we got the birthday event in July, celebrating the first year anniversary of Fortnite, we were given balloons and plenty of cake, like every good birthday party should. Now, to let everyone know where you could come and find some of the goodness, they hung the balloons all around where you could find some cake. Some were hanging off of the rocks and trees, others were on lampposts or cars, but they were never on the ground, except for one. The single set of balloons could be found attached to the drain inside of Greasy Grove before it was covered up by polar peaks. At the time of this event, the film It and the classic scene of the kid that loses his boat down a storm drain to find the clown could be found all over the internet. These balloons were no mistake, and they were a direct reference to the film. In at number 2, we've got the Fortnite in-game poster that shows the Unreal Tournament facing world. For any of the old school gamers out there, this might be a reference that'll bring you a sense of nostalgia. In the late 90s and early 2000s, online multiplayer was making a big rise. It was around that time that the game started coming out primarily based upon being online. They might have had a small storyline you can play, but 90% of it would be focused on the multiplayer aspect. Unreal Tournament was one game series that instantly gained attraction and never really lost its momentum. It was a futuristic, space-age style game with lasers and real-life people to fight with. I mean, what more could you ask for during that time? Now, like you see with a lot of modern games, there always tends to be one or two favorite maps in particular. For Unreal Tournament, it was Facing World, a map carved out of an asteroid in space with one giant tower on each end. It was one of those simple yet effective maps that was good for most game modes, whether it's team deathmatch or capture the flag, and all the while you're spinning around in space with the Earth and Moon in the background. So how is this all related to Fortnite, you might be asking? Well, in a lot of the house, you can find in Save the World and Battle Royale these posters on the wall. This one you can find in a few locations, including the small house at Salty Springs, which is an exact image of the Facing World's map from Unreal Tournament. These posters have been in the game since the beginning, but a lot of people still don't know all their references. And as for the honorable mentions, we've got the Faces of the Mountains. When Season 7 literally struck the Fortnite Battle Royale island with a giant dragon-infested sword in the stone buried castle iceberg, yeah, that happened. It left quite a big impact on the island. Nearly the entire southwest area was remade and updated. We also had multiple plane locations added around the map, but we also saw some weird structures on the mountains. Caravans, cars, and lorries were all positioned on mountaintops in what seemed like some weird act of randomness. But when you get a look at these from a different angle, it all starts to make sense. At the very south of the map in the desert, you can find a mountain with what looks like a bit of a grumpy face at the top made out of rocks. Then some caravans and cactus for his stubbly head, or it's a crown, I'm not too sure, you decide. In the meantime, we head on over to the snow-covered area of the map. You can also find another face on a mountain by the south edge, except this time you can only see it when standing on a certain angle. The eyes were attached to the mountain, but the mouth and teeth are slightly in front and separate from the mountain. So for a lot of people passing through, they won't actually be able to notice it. There's a few more hidden around the map, and I wouldn't be surprised if there's even more undiscovered. So let us know of any others that you've seen, but these are the more obvious ones that you can find that we came across. The Ice Mountain face actually looks exactly like Snorlax from Pokemon too, so there's that. And in at number 1, we've got Jackrabbit poster in Fortnite. So when we were talking about the Unreal Engine poster in Fortnite, you may have thought to yourself that you've seen some of the other posters too. What might they mean? Well, this one is probably more personal to Epic Games than most, as it's a direct reference to one of the earliest games they made back in 1994. Like always, these posters can be spotted in multiple locations around the map, but if you head on to the small apartment buildings on the south end of Tilted Towers, you can find 2 posters on the wall. Now, the one on the right is a picture of a little bunny shooting a laser with the title, Jackrabbit. On a quick glance, you probably assume it was just some nice filler artwork by one of the designers. However, this is the game that Epic Games made back in the early 90s. It featured your classic hare and tortoise story in a platform-style 2D game, except with a mega twist, which was that this was all set up in space with guns and lasers. Plus, the tortoise was the bad guy with a masked tortoise army that you had to fight through. When you're passing by this next time, definitely take a step back and just appreciate just how far Epic Games have come since then to bring us Fortnite. But that has been our list of the top 5 most secret Fortnite Easter eggs that you missed in Season 7. Click that like button if you enjoyed, subscribe to the channel if you're new, push notifications on, make sure to follow us on Twitter, and keep it here on Top 5 Gaming.